Welcome to episode 2 of Q&A, a segment where you ask and I answer. My name is Nayim. I am your host. And today, before we get started, thank you to Colorado Rick for your financial contribution to the show. And thank you to everybody that's been going hard and being consistent with the donations, especially these past 2 weeks. I usually take everything y'all send me and I put it right back into financing everything I need to keep this show going. But I'm going out and doing community service today because they are asking for book donations for teenage readers because they have enough books for the little kids and enough books for young adults and older people. And the teenage section is severely underwhelmed. So I'm going to a couple of thrift stores today with every dollar that y'all have sent me these past 14 days. Everything counts, man. I'm just grateful to even be in a position where y'all are able to help me go out and service this community the way it needs. And I wanted to share that with y'all because today the Q&A question is, what are the terms I should look out for in my contract? Now, obviously, we do not have enough time to go through every single little legal thing that you need to look out for. That's why I always tell y'all, you can take a contract to a lawyer in your city and have them read it for $500, $600, $700, $800. We talking about serious contracts, not no BS, but anything you sign is serious. So if it comes to a point where you need to actually have somebody go through your contract, I would suggest taking your contract to a lawyer or a legal professional that will be able to help you with that. But I do have a list, and we're not going to sit here and bore you because it's a very long list of what I would think are the most important things that you need to understand. I'm going to give you the word, and I'm going to give you the definition, so you will be able to come back and reference this, and I'm going to make sure I put the list in the comment section. So before we get started with this actual list, I want to say the first thing you need to know, because this is something that people usually don't know, especially if they're coming into music, is a PRO. If someone asks you what your PRO is, who is your PRO, and your PRO is going to be severely important if you're talking about being an independent musician. What is a PRO? The PRO is your performing rights organization, whether that be BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, SOCAN. They got a couple of them, and all of these do the same thing. They collect the extra money that's outside of the royalty. So your royalty would come through whoever your distribution is, but that's a different type of royalty: mechanical, performance, TV royalty, just all of those things. And TV royalties would come up under mechanical and performance. But having your PRO, knowing what that is, performing rights organization, it doesn't matter which one you join, ASCAP, BMI, if you're in the United States, if you're overseas or in another country, they have their own performing rights organizations, and you can't join one outside your country if you don't live there and you're not a resident of there. It has to be the country you live in. As far as the difference between ASCAP and BMI, there is no difference. The only difference will be how much you have to pay. I don't really know anything about BMI. I am an ASCAP member. Multiple of my performance rights organizations, all of them that are mine, are under ASCAP, and that's my publishing company. My publishing companies are under ASCAP, and it's as my writing is too. And you can't flip flop and switch. You can collaborate with other people, and you can work with other people from other performing rights organizations, but you can't be like a writer under ASCAP and your publishing be under BMI. They have a lot of stuff switched around now, but as far as being an independent musician, you want to make sure that you make your accounts. So you have your publishing company and your writing situation. You just stick them together so you don't have to worry about, trying to keep track of numbers and all this stuff. So I have a list. I'm not going to be looking at the camera because I want to make sure I read you the list. I look up periodically. The most important thing on the list is just the term and the definition. So our first term is all in. Now, all in has two separate definitions for two separate things, and it's one definition for the composer and one definition for the songwriter. So what is all in? For the composer, all in means they will deliver the score in the final format to the producer for one all-in fee. That means they will usually be doing a synth score where all the music is recorded via digital means, using instrument samples, etc. If they need to use a live instrument of any kind, or like a sax player, guitar, violinist, or whatever, they have to pay the player from their own pocket. All in for a songwriter means both the master and the use of synchronization fees are combined into one all-in fee for licensing the song. Our next term is bumpers. And what are bumpers? Bumpers are short pieces of music that you hear before and after commercials, like "We'll be back on the show" or "We'll be right back," and some, things like that. They're used a lot in games, like transitional pieces of music. But it's not just for commercial breaks. It's used to emphasize various key points in games, key points in situations. They're basically short music cues in the midst of action, and they are referred to as bumpers. Our next term is a cue sheet. Now, what is a cue sheet? So if you want to make money in music, the most important thing is when and where the person that is the person who's licensing your music, when and where are they going to be submitting basically the information for it. But this definition for the cue sheet, let's see, where are we at? It is the document to let the PRO know that money is due. Money is due for them to use on their music in a project. Every time a film or TV show is completed, a cue sheet is prepared that specifies who wrote and published each piece of music, who owns what percentage, the respective PROs, and exactly how long and what fashion the music was used. The most important thing about a cue sheet, assuming the writers and the publishers want to get paid, is to file it with every PRO whose writers and or publishers appear on it. The music supervisor, coordinator, and or administrator usually prepares the cue sheets based on the information provided by the music editor and composer. And the production company or network is generally responsible for filing them with the PROs. Ideally, cue sheets should be filled within 90 days of the first airing or showing of the TV program field, but there is no hard or fast rule or requirement by the PROs other than in a timely manner, which could sometimes mean up to a year. No writer or publisher gets paid their performance royalties unless the cue sheet is filed with their PRO. This means that writers and publishers or their administrators should always request a copy of the cue sheet for any project in which their music is used and specify a date by which they must deliver within the body of the music licenses. So that's the master and that is the sync. Now, our next term is one of my favorite terms because a lot of people get tripped up on this, and this term is in perpetuity. Basically, this means forever. In publishing, it means that whoever owns the publishing rights to a song will own it for the full life of the copyright, not just the life of the composer. In music licensing, it means that whoever owns the right of the project, the filmmaker, the production company, the TV network, etc., is given contractual rights to have a song, composition, and or a specific recording of it embedded into the project forever. If a publishing company, record label, or film company is sold to another entity or corporation, all contracted rights follow the song and recording to the new company or companies. In perpetuity means forever until the end of time. Doesn't matter if it gets switched over to a new platform, like when we went from 8-track to tape to CD to digital download to streaming. In perpetuity is forever. Now, our next term is master or synchronization license. This encompasses both ends of the song itself, and the recording of it. Independent artists are often owe both the publishing and the master rights of their songs and recordings, and the master and sync license is normally used in both of these instances. Now, what is a master use license? A master use license is whoever owns the recording of the song issues the master's use license. This could be any number of people who recorded the song. The only one that counts here is the one the filmmaker wants to use. Whether it's an independent artist's recording of his or her own song or a major artist's recording of the song, whoever owns the rights to the respective recording issues the license. And what is a synchronization license, aka a sync license? This is a $50 term designed to confuse new people. All it means is that whoever owns the publishing rights to a song issues a synchronization license for the use of the song itself, not the recording of the song in a TV or a movie. Synchronization simply means use of the composition and synchronization with the picture on screen. That is it. It's not complicated. It's not mysterious. Synchronization licensing, associate that with who owns the publishing. Master is whoever owns the recording. Two different things. Next, what is a music supervisor? Music supervisor, regardless of whether they're a biggie, meaning they have a staff, or an indie, meaning they can do everything for less money, the music supervisor's main duty is in choosing music and licensing it for the project, and as importantly, making sure the music they have provided to the director enhances the action or mood on the screen. It helps the director see his or her artistic vision realized. The music supervisor often oversees all of the creative and business aspects of the music for a project. This includes helping to develop a music budget, assisting in the search for a composition, that's if requested, helping the director in his or her choice of songs, coordinating the soundtrack recording, spotting sessions with the composer and the director, or etc. It may or may not include doing music clearance, music licensing paperwork, and can also include some or all of the duties of a music coordinator and or music administrator. The earlier the music supervisor is involved, the more time they have to be creative, both with music itself and with the budget. When a famous song or a classic copyright is desired by a director, but the project's budget does not allow for its use, the music supervisor will suggest and often negotiate budget-friendly alternatives from various sources, including independent artists and or music libraries. So if you've ever wondered why there's so many songs that are on these shows by brand new people coming up, and it's actually severely popular now, where a lot of people only do that kind of music and stuff, and why famous people's music is just not used all the time, is because a lot of the times it's way cheaper to hire independent artists, because if you went to get a Ty Dolla $ign or somebody like that, it's not, they probably like, if I can pay one Ty Dolla $ign fee, or I can pay 50 independent artists, you know what I'm saying? So it's a budgeting game. It's how much can we afford to spend. Bigger productions usually have those bigger budgets, like maybe Fast and Furious soundtrack and stuff. They usually have the bigger amount of money so they can spend on all the major artists, and then, you know, smaller shows or smaller productions, or depending on who own it or how much they want to spend on it, will go hire independent companies, independent people that are just, you know, depending on how much they want to pay. The next thing we have on the list is sound recording. There's the song, and then there's the recording of it. The latter is the sound recording, and the sound recording is the master. And there can be any number of recordings of the same song, words and music, copyright for which is owed to the publisher. The copyright to a sound recording is for everything you hear: the instruments, the playing of the particular arrangement, the singer, if there is one, and the whole production from top to bottom. For a major label artist, this copyright is generally wholly owned by the record label, but for independent artists, this may belong to the artist or the band. So the sound recording is another word for the master, and the master is the person who owns everything encompassed all in one. The next thing we have is timing notes or breakdown notes. This music editor makes notes in detail events, timings, or etc. for scenes and supplies them to the composer, who will use them to reference time code and durations of scenes. It's kind of nice to know how many sounds and seconds and minutes in music you're going to need to churn out before the deadline. These notes will often contain not only the timing and key action dialogue, but the camera moves and the edits as well. That's just something to look out for. We're talking about people who make money in music. The next word we have on this list is keywords. So and I know like when you hear some of these words, it's just like what? But it's like these are the important things to look out for when you're dealing with your paperwork and getting into actually making money with your music. So keywords. When you upload a track to a music library, you are usually asked to add its name, description, keywords, genre, all types of metadata, right? A track's keywords, sometimes called tags, and are simple words or phrases you can use to describe the track. For example, you say fun or upbeat, ukulele, positive, sad, angry, theatrical, etc. Basically a tag or a description of what it is, because some people go in, actually everybody goes in and they look for stuff, and this is on the back end of whatever you don't see behind the camera. They go in and they look for certain type of things, and you want to always make sure you label something correctly to what is going on. It doesn't have to be, you can't have like the Pharrell song Because I'm Happy. You can't have that and then label it as gloomy or depressed. That's not an accurate description of what that song is. It would be upbeat, fun, light, those type of words. Use your adjectives. The next word we have is metadata. So metadata. Metadata is the information you add to a track when you upload to a music library. It can be a spreadsheet with the list of all the track names, descriptions, genres, keywords, etc. It can be entered manually into a special uploading panel when you upload your music. And there's actually websites now specifically made to track out the metadata for each individual song, especially when you're getting into actually making money from your music. And metadata is very important, because when you get into actually being in this music industry and you want to take it further than just being a person who throws their music up on DistroKid, people are going to need to know every single piece of this music, down to what time you made it and where it was at, as far as what the copyright goes. So the next term we have on the list is stinger. And what is a stinger? A stinger is a short piece of music used for many purposes, including logos, highlights, scenes, transitions, etc. Good examples of stingers can be heard in every episode of Friends. When the scene changes, you often hear a short piece of music. Stingers are very important. You often hear them at like the end of songs, on commercials and things like that. It's just like, it builds up, and it's like, pow. Like that is a stinger. And a stinger, how you make a stinger, I believe you usually like take one beat of whatever the percussion and the drum is, one beat of the bass, one beat of the melody, maybe one phrase or something like that, and it's just like boom. That's the easiest way to describe it without actually sitting down and putting one together. The next word on our list is edits. And what are edits? When writing music for certain music libraries, you will be asked to create additional edits. The most common edits are 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Sometimes additional loops are useful too. I specialize in edits, actually, and I specialize in edits is because I do a lot of commercials, and a lot of the commercials that I do, they will have 1 minute, 30-second versions of the commercials. They will have, I've only done a few commercials where they're 1 minute and 45 seconds. They have 60-second versions of the commercial, 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 6 seconds, and 3-second versions of the commercial. And they use all of those. And sometimes they switch them up, but usually like when you start out with that really long version of the commercial, they usually take and some people chop them, but when I write mine, I write like all my edits out. So I'll write a super prolonged version of a commercial, because they have different places where they put these things. And then when you have your 60-second, that's kind of like the meat and potatoes version of the commercial. And then the 45-second version is like the meat and the a little like half of meat and potatoes. My 30-second versions is like everything that is just getting to the point, and then it's 15-second is like the most important thing. What can I get across in 15 seconds? My 6-second versions of my commercials is basically just like whatever the catchphrase or the slogan or whatever they have for it. And in my 3-second version, usually just like the slogan. And that's how I do my commercials, if anybody cared. And that's how, if you was writing a commercial, you would do your commercial if you actually was the person who wrote everything for the commercial. Usually, I usually come out when I write commercials. I usually do everything myself at first just to get all my ideas out. And I do multiple versions of everything. And then I present it to the team that I work with. And then we go from there. So the next thing we have on the list is stems. And stems are a sub or partial mix of one or some instruments in a track. For example, if you have a song comprised of one drum track, one bass track, one guitar track, the guitar stem would be just the exported solo guitar track. So with the stems, if we're talking about making a traditional song, and your traditional song would be instruments, vocals, ad-libs. So your instruments, each instrument itself would be its own piece, and tracked out or exported would be one. You would have to download them, basically, in the easiest terms to put it. Download them as individual pieces. Your vocals would be one piece, like your main vocals would be the one piece. Your ad-libs would be one stem, and it makes it for more experienced mixers, because they might want to change something in there. But that's what it basically is, each individual piece. The next word we have, very simple, is a cue. And what is a cue? Another name for a track. Now, our next thing is retitling. If you are a part of a number of non-exclusive music libraries, and they all place your music on TV, how would they know which one of them? How would you know which one of them placed your track? In order to stop disputes from arising, some companies will actually re-register your track again with a new unique name so they can collect their share of the royalties from it. So basically, if you have different names for different, if you're using the same thing and it's going to different places, just make sure you have an alternate title on that. These are good things to know before you decide that you want to go and start getting into this, like, deep into the water. Next term is license. What is a license? A license is a document or agreement to allow a person or a company to use your music, usually in return for a fee. When you license your music to someone, it means you keep the rights to the music. You're simply allowing them to use it for a specific project. This is severely important because a lot of people think they have to give their rights up in order to be a part of a bigger music ensemble, to get your song on TV or get your song on one of these popular shows. No, a lot of the times they just want to pay you to play your music, and that's where your licensing will come in. And there's all types of terms in your license. A lot of these terms will be in there, but that's another thing. Again, if it's depending on what it is, you need to have somebody look over that for you. The next term is royalty free. Now, what is royalty free? Royalty free is somewhat misleading in its title. Some libraries take royalty free to mean if you purchase a track once, you can use it as many times as you like in the future. Other libraries take royalty free to mean if you purchase a track, you will not have to pay any royalties for TV users. This means your tracks cannot be registered with your PRO. It has a number of definitions, and it's always best to check the library as to what they take royalty free to mean. So a lot of people will say, and a lot of producers do royalty free, like, hey, if you pay to buy this sound kit, these are royalty free, you don't have to pay anything additional. But in the terms of, because everybody has different terms of their service, I hope that people have real terms and not just some generic AI situation going on. But some of these people have in there like, oh, you can use it as much as you want to for personal commercial use, or you can use it as much as you want to for non-commercial use, or you can use it as much as you want to unlimited on whatever. But if you try to go get this place, you need to give me this percentage. You can't use this for more than 5,000 sales. It's just all type of different contractual terms that people will have in their royalty-free thing. So you just want to make sure you are reading and checking up on that. The next term we have is music library. Now, a music library nowadays is usually a website that offers music to be licensed on behalf of composers. Sometimes music libraries are run from home by one person or can consist of a huge team and staff in the office in Los Angeles, for example. Music library sizes and popularity turnover vary widely. Getting your music into a good music library can create a great source of passive income for you when there are no projects to work on. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. You can create a music library. It's best to have your own personal one, but if you're talking about for commercial use, there's plenty of music libraries out there that want you to submit the music, and if they feel like it's appropriate, even if they don't do anything with it immediately, it'll still be there for people to come and listen to. And that's a good way to be discovered, is getting your music in these libraries, and they find you. And you might not be known by everybody, but you will be known in the business circuit, and they can take your songs and put them in shows as they see fit. The next term we have is production music. And what is production music? This usually refers to music that is written specifically for licensing through a music library and can be used in a wide range of projects. It can be any style and any genre. Other terms in the production music include media music, library music, or stock music. So that's basically any music that can be used for whatever reason, on call, on deck. It's already made. You made it once. Everything, like we talked before, everything's already made out. They can just grab it and pull it and use it whenever they need to use it. Next term is upfront fees. When you or your publisher license music, your music or music on your behalf, you can sometimes be paid upfront fees. This is money to be paid in order to purchase a license for your music. Often you will be entitled to further income generated from TV royalties later on down the line as well. That's pretty self-explanatory as well. Some people, it just depends on how things are structured and things are offered. Some people will take money. A lot of people get a lot of upfront fees, but some people will there's no upfront fee, but it's going to be on a popular show, or the upfront fee is really small or can be really high. Some of the numbers people toss around is like $100 to like $15,000 to get your song placed on this thing, and that's just like upfront money or whatever. And then obviously you're going to get that kickback because not kickback, but you're going to get that back end money because every time it's played on a show, you do generate royalties from that. The next term we have is licensor. And the licensor is the person who is providing someone else with a license or permission. This is a common term in music. Licensing contracts. As a composer, you are the licensor providing a music library or publisher, a licensee, with permission to provide others with a license to use your music. And the licensee, this is the last term I have on the list, and then I'm going to give you like one or two more, is the person or the company who is being granted a license by you to become your publisher. Now, I have one more term I want to add to this, and I think the term I'm going to add to this list is work for hire. It's a very important term because as a work for hire as a person, you're going to get paid one time and you're probably not going to be entitled to anything else. It just kind of it's split down the middle with work for hire. So with work for hire, there's two sides. There's the side that you get paid everything you want up front. They buy you out of everything. They can go and run wild and do whatever. And then there's work for hire where you get a percentage. You might get, you want points on the publishing. You want a percentage of the royalties, whatever your personal terms would be as far as work for hire goes. They pay you the fee and then you get whatever the kickback is, but they just hire you to do this specific thing. You're not into any contracts. We're just going by whatever these terms are for this right now. And I hope this list, because we can sit here and talk all day, will probably end up, if you want other terms or you want to go over other things, you can obviously book a consultation for that type of situation. I got to get back to Nicole about the copyright thing because I just had the paperwork come through about the copyright. But if you want to talk about other things, you can obviously book a personal consultation. We'll go through everything. We can set up your company for you and do all of that like right there on the phone, on the video, whatever you want to do. But these are some of the terms you need to keep in mind, and make sure that you know these terms and look out for these type of terms, especially that in perpetuity and that exclusive and all of that stuff. So thank you guys for another good week of Q&A. I will holler.